on, I am going to show you how you could create a scratch tessellation. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to your class link. So you'll go to your bookmarks, click class link, and you would go ahead and sign in. Next, you would go ahead and look for your scratch. You can do it here on the search bar, or you can go ahead and add it as one of your apps. So if I scroll down, I actually put mine into a folder. I have all kinds of coding apps, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the scratch. You're going to sign in using your Google credentials or school credentials. Also, your teacher could add you to a class so that you could do a particular project and submit it for credit. So we're going to go ahead and create a project. Now, taking a look at with the tessellation, one of the things that you want to do is when you are telling it where to go, you're going to want a backdrop for a grid. So you're going to hit backgrounds and you're going to go to XY grid, and this is the one here you want. Okay, this will help you tell where you want your sprite to go. Now, you could create a tessellation with this sprite right here, but there's a good chance that this might be a little difficult, and I would not recommend that for your first one. So you're going to go here to the bottom and you're going to choose a sprite, or you can go ahead and create your own or upload your own. So let's go here and let's try to find a shape that we are able to easily create a tessellation. Maybe we can go with a heart. So I'm going to pick a heart as the sprite. Okay, so now we had our backdrop here, have our sprite. You could technically do more than one, but that might be something you might want to save for something more advanced. These are all your coding blocks, and these are all your categories of your coding blocks. Here where your costume is, this here you could edit and change your sprite. Like so, for example, if I want to make it smaller and I want to start my tessellation at the top, we can do it this way. And I can leave it there. You can change the color, you could change the outline, the fill, the size of it, etc. So let's go back here to our code. Let's go to our control, and the first thing we want to do is when clicked. All right, so when you click this flag, it's going to create your tessellation. We're going to definitely need to set the size, and we're going to set our XY. We want to start our XY. All right, so right now, let's take a look where XY is set. We're going to hit the flag, and right now, actually, that's where we have it. Is -30 and the Y is 24. We want to start it up at the top. Let's say we want our X, we want it up here. So this would be actually -100 and Y is 86. We could also change our size. Let's say that we want it a little bit bigger. So let's do 125. So let's hit the flag. Okay, and that moves it back to this location, but we want it up there. So if we put it up there, and this says -70 and 67, we're gonna go here and change this to -70 and 67. Okay, so now we hit the flag, and there we go. So what we want to do is we want to make a duplicate of that. So we are going to go and we're going to ask for it to make a copy. However, So this copy would be actually to create a clone of myself. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, hit the flag, see what happens. And there it is. There's that clone. Well, what do we want that clone to do? We want it to move, let's say, here. But we want it to be able to code it so it does it on its own. So let's identify where this is. This is at -20 and y is 68. Okay, so actually we want to try to keep the y the same. So we want it really at 67. Can we get it at 67? All right, well, if not, we could change it here. Okay, so we're going to create the clone of the self, and then we're going to go to -20 to 67. We want to keep it the same. Okay, so let's hit the flag and see what happens. Well, we want to see this happen in real time, so we're going to want to create a time. 1 second will be too long, so let's do half a second, and let's see what happens when we click the flag. All right, so there it goes. So we're going to click. There it is. It makes a clone. We wait, and then it goes to this next one. So now we want to go ahead and actually have it make another clone, right? So we wanted to create a clone, and we actually want to repeat this here, but we want it to go in the next section. All right, so let's see what happens if we go ahead, we create a clone, and we wait half a second. And we want it to go. Now, where do we want it to go? We want to keep the y the same. Okay, we want the y all to be on the same axis here. But look what's happening here. We went from -70 to -20. So what that difference is 50. So we are going to subtract 50 from that, and that's going to leave us a positive 30. Well, let's see if that's the case. Hit this. There we go. So we want this to go all the way across. Okay? So to do this all the way across, and without having a long chain, let's see what we need to do and what's going on that we need to be repeated. If we take that block and we take that block, those are repeated. But what is actually being repeated? This is the same, this is the same. The only difference here is the the X. So let's see if we can find a block where we could want to change it by 50, a positive 50. So what we're going to do, we're changing the X. So we're going to change the X by 50. All right, so how are we going to do this? Well, we want to repeat this whole thing, but we want to change and we want to click that on by 50. So let's see if this is going to work. All right, let's hit the flag. Okay, there it goes, and it's repeating 10 times because we said here 10 times, but that's off the chart. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's do 9 times. Let's see if that helps. All right, hit the flag. Perfect. All right, so this is all set here. Okay, so we left off with here. Now what we're going to do is right now, if I pull this out, I'm going to have an empty section. So what I'm going to do is, to make this, I need to create another clone, and I'm going to insert it there. So when I hit the flag button, the very end, I have that clone. Okay, so now what we need to do is, we're going to leave this here. Alright, so now let's go ahead, and when we do this code here, we created a clone, and now we made a costume, a second costume. Now look at the size here. This heart is 41 by 41. We want to make sure that this one is at the same size as well. So if we set this for 41, 41. Alright, so let's take a look to see how this works. All right, so we have this one, and then we have this one. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's go back to the code. All right, and then let's set this one. Let's see what happens when we set it to 125%. So we switch to purple heart, but then we also want to turn this 180 degrees. And we're going to set the location of where we want to start it, make a clone, wait 5 seconds, and we change by 50. That's what we did here. So let's see how this works. Okay, so let's go and hit the start button. Okay, so the issue is we have it over here. All right, we want it to actually start over here. Okay, so we definitely need to change our X and our Y. So let's see what happens if we put it there. This is our last one. All right, so this one is saying negative 327 and Y. So let's go ahead and give that a try. Negative 327 with Y as 205. All right, so let's see. What we need to do is we need to rotate this back. All right, and here we have that here. So let's go back to our costume. Let's hit the red heart. Let's see if this works. All right, there we go. So we're doing good over here. So now what we want to do is keep repeating as we go through. So how are we going to do this so that we can do the same thing? Is we want to change by 50, but we need to create a clone. Wait. Okay. So then, and we want to continue to change by 50. So let's take a look at what we did up here. We did create a clone, wait 5 seconds, change by 50, create a clone. So what if we move this here, and we went and we found the repeat, and we did it and inserted it right there. Okay, so this one was repeat, so let's see what happens with repeat 9. Okay, so let's make sure we go back. We change this to 90. We want to make sure that we're starting at the red heart, and let's see what happens. All right, we have a winner here. So now let's take a look on, we want to end up repeating this whole sequence, but we want to bring it back here. Okay, so how are we going to repeat the whole sequence? Okay, so we did one row of the red hearts, one row of the purple hearts. All right, remember we have our heart 1, heart 2 with red and purple. I went ahead and did the sequence and the coding for the second row. What we want to do after we finish the first set is we want to go ahead and switch to the red heart. So we would grab from the look where it says switch to the other costume. We want to keep the same size, 125, and we want to turn it 180 degrees. Because originally it's here, upside down purple, we want to put it right back side up red. Then we need to set the grid of where we want it. We want the X at -70 and the Y -5. So look for a pattern to see what is the number that you want to go down. Worst comes to worst, you can always do trial and error. All right, and then next, you go ahead and then you repeat the sequence where you had this over here. You would just copy, change X by 50, and then when you're done with that sequence, you would change the costume to purple. Set the size, turn it the degrees, set the X and the Y, and then you want to go ahead and repeat. To make the next row, okay, so now let's put that whole sequence that I already did, put it underneath that block, okay, and you'll see that I did a third row right here. I turned it, switched the costume, set the size, set where I want it to start, then repeat that row. Then we're going to turn another 180 degrees. We go to purple, set the size, see where we want to start it, and then repeat. Okay, we could actually just end it and then change that back. Okay, whenever you don't want one of the blocks, you just go ahead and you throw it back there. All right, now take a look down here. When you turn it 180 degrees, this should bring this back to 90. But right now it's -90, so go ahead and set that direction to 90. And now let's hit the flag to start. Okay, we had a little extra one up here. We'll just bring that up, or we can get rid of that by just removing that. But you can see that this brings the direction back to on an upright 90 degree. All right, so we have 3 rows of these hearts, and your task is to continue filling up the page of your tessellation by figuring out the codes. The bonus would be, can you figure out a way to combine these so you have less blocks? It can be done. All right, you'll have to go to the control and you'll have to use some of these commands, but you can actually do a repeat by using something very similar to what we did up here by changing the X or the Y. All right, so go ahead, have fun. You may choose any shape you want. You can even turn whatever angle you want. All right, you don't have to turn 180 degrees. You could also control this by doing maybe 45 degrees, doing 30 degrees. So go ahead and play with these blocks. See if you can reduce these numbers of blocks and have fun making your tessellation.